Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, take another fun video for you guys in the bonus slot today. Because recently I talked about the fact that every single 3D M2 game now emulates in a version of MAME that is a build commit. And that is absolutely awesome because we have the 3D M2 improvements from Tova and now R Belmont committed to the Konami Viper repo. And you're going to have a situation in which a game that basically was not operable whatsoever in the past is now going to be playable. And if you know me and you know the channel, you know I love two things: arcade emulation and really fun and rare light gun games. And basically this is going to improve the speed of gameplay as well as make the game actually controllable, because in the first place you couldn't really get into this game and play around with it much whatsoever. And if Jurassic Park 3 from Konami doesn't sound familiar, this was a relatively rare arcade game when it came out. Didn't do anywhere near the numbers of Sega's own Jurassic Park games, so it kind of has been forgotten about by this point in time. Now, I don't want to get your hopes up and make you think that this game is going to be quote-unquote perfect today. Unlike the 3D M2 improvements, the Konami Viper still has a lot of things going on in the back end that need improvements in emulation. But this game went from something that wouldn't play whatsoever, and now you can sit down and play from start to finish, whether you have an arcade light gun for your PC like the Senator gun for IR, or if you just want to use your mouse. And considering the Konami Viper has a metric crap ton of amazing games on it, many of which you're never going to see in arcades again, the only thing you can do is be like me and collect a bunch of arcade boards so you can play them in your house, or wait for emulation in MAME to improve. And improve it has in this most recent commit, because again, this was a game that you could never play before and now you can see the credits scroll on. I'm not saying it's going to be quote unquote fun to play. It definitely will stutter no matter how hard you push it, no matter how big of a CPU you bring to the party, but it's gone from being something that was completely inoperable to something that now is playable, and that is definitely a big bonus. Before we get much further involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But I love the Konami Viper hardware. It's basically Dreamcast vibe. It uses a PowerPC chipset along with 3DFX Voodoo chips on board, basically making it feel almost like a PC and almost like a game console at the same time. And when they talk about Dreamcast, when it was Katana and Black Belt, basically the alternate spec that we didn't get on Dreamcast is very similar to what the Konami Viper is. It's really fun hardware to collect, it's really fun as far as the game library is concerned, and has some absolute hidden gems just like you're seeing here with Jurassic Park 3, because this game is definitely a ton of fun to play, and I have played it on original hardware, and I do have the game card in my library as well, although it is a 24 kilohertz game, so right now I don't have a monitor to actually sync up with the light gun. That is the annoying part about Konami Viper. All the games are medium resolution, not standard or 31 kilohertz, so I actually lack the CRT screen right now to be able to play this one. So I, like everyone else, want to see this improved in MAME, not just because it'll make it easier for me to play, it'll mean a lot of you will get to play these games for the first time, because I have a pretty extensive Viper collection for motherboards and almost every single game made for the hardware, and it definitely takes up a lot of space and it can be exceedingly rare to find these things. So in the future, I want a world where Konami Viper emulation is as buttoned up as 3D M2 emulation is feeling now. We can basically just sit down and play any game whenever you want. And if you are curious, a long time ago I did a video on my Konami Viper collection. If I remember, I will leave a link in the description below. It is really fun hardware, but trust me, more often than not it is broken. That is because there aren't really heat sinks on half of the chips in these things, and this thing will heat bake itself and basically start cracking the ball grid array balls on the back of some of the chips. Konami was never good with heat management, and they were pretty bad on it with Viper. But if you're wondering what a Viper game looks like correctly working, this is Code 1 Dispatch, and this was captured off my original board, and to this day I think it might be the only original hardware capture of this game on YouTube. It is a ton of fun, and it really is something that I think a lot of people would have a blast with, pun very much intended for those exploding barrels, if it did work better in MAME in the future. And that's definitely the hope, that it does work even better than this, because there's some absolutely hidden gems like Code 1 Dispatch and Warzade and even mocap boxing on the board. But here's the first of two soundtrack samples. It's not going to hurt your ears, but it isn't perfect, so fair warning, it's a kind of a status update, and I'll be right back with a lot more Jurassic Park 3.
It seems the accident victims are in the hatching facility. Avoid that!
Now Now, it definitely goes without saying that that is not the correct audio for Jurassic Park 3, and interestingly enough, it's kind of the same audio issue we had on something like the 3D M2 boards with the hitching, and something we even see on the Konami Cobra with fighting Bujitsu. I don't know that all of these problems are actually interrelated, it just seems to present itself with the same kind of issue, a stuttering in the motion cadence as well as in the audio. But there are sections of Jurassic Park 3 where you can get this thing to basically run very close to full speed. And if you're wondering why you're seeing kind of that rainbow goo there, that is just because some call to the 3DFX hardware on the Viper isn't buttoned up correctly, so it really is just showing garbage on screen. And don't think that I am knocking this emulation. I am supremely impressed with what it is doing. I just kind of call it garbage because that's the best way to kind of describe it. But in some of the interior areas here, some of the stuff going on, it does run very close to full speed so long as you actually have the system that's going to be able to do it. And big thanks to Space Rock 12 for helping me with the capture while I was on quasi-vacation. I left a link to their YouTube page down below, so go ahead and give them a subscription because they definitely deserve it. They have an awesome arcade testing channel doing stuff that even I don't have time for at this point in time anymore. But you'll see here again, everything looks relatively good, and in some areas, if I just took a screenshot and said it was from real hardware, you might be fooled into believing that. Obviously, when some of the glass shatters or some of these light rays come in, it is not drawing the effect to the 3DFX hardware correctly, but that is all stuff that can be fixed up in the future. And that again is why I'm doing this video, not only to talk about the improvements we've seen to Konami Viper emulation recently, but also to talk about what can be done and how many games still quote-unquote don't work in MAME. And don't get me wrong, I am still absolutely blown away by the fact that MAME runs as many games as they do. I just always like to caveat those statements in saying I don't think that MAME is doing a bad job. They do an incredible job. There's just a lot of games that still will not work. And interestingly, in a lot of the boss fights, that's where you get the most stuttering here. But I played this game in arcades probably like 20 or so years ago. Absolutely had a good time with it. When I found out it didn't emulate maybe 10 years or so ago when I was thinking about it again, I did pick up a board for it. And Konami Viper collecting is a lot of fun, but I totally get it that for 99 out of 100 of you out there, collecting arcade boards just isn't something you want to do. And honestly, for about 90 out of 100 of you out there, it's not even something I would recommend to most collectors. It is hard mode. Half the time you spend, you're fixing the boards, not actually playing them, and it just becomes an absolute chore to keep them all running and to figure out a way to store them all, because the Konami Viper actually one of these smaller arcade boards out there, but when you have 4 or 5 of them, it still takes up about as much space as half a set of encyclopedias. Although in my opinion it is way more fun. And I just want a future in which you can sit down and double click this game in MAME, jump into it, run it at full speed with proper graphics, because like I said, this hardware can be very delicate. There's not many cabinets out there anymore, and even finding working Viper units can be a pain. But we're going to do one more soundtrack sample. Again, same warning as before, nothing bad but nothing perfect, and I'll come back and show you a little bit more footage of the game running in MAME. So in some instances there, the audio does sound correct, but it is for brief moments in time, and that's the thing, this game is like 80% correct, and sometimes the way it breaks is a vibe, like this water rainbow here kind of looks like the Exxon Valdez broke open in this waterway and put out a rainbow oil slick. But this is definitely improved, even if it isn't something that you're going to be able to sit down and 100% enjoy. But if you do want to experience what Jurassic Park 3 was, if you want to go through the entire campaign with some drop frames and with some graphical glitches, that is something you can do on this most recent commit. And I will leave a link in the description below where you can join up to my Discord and chat with people there, because a lot of my Discord members follow all the MAME improvements, and I even get pings from them when stuff like this happens. I know this took me a few days to get to, but I'm sure not many people even know about it. But I was back east in Vermont helping my wife's father out with my wife just because his health has been a little bit shaky recently. So this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit sooner, but sometimes we just have to wait for the good stuff. But Jurassic Park 3 on Konami Viper is the good stuff. There's basically no quote-unquote bad games on the Viper hardware, and so many of them are basically extinct at this point in time. But if you know where there is a Jurassic Park 3 cabinet, I would be curious to hear. If it's within driving distance, maybe 2-3 hours, I'd love to go check it out and play it again. Because like I said, I may own the board and the game, but I'm still in the market market for a new 24 kilohertz monitor that doesn't look like something that got ripped out of an arcade machine, because I got to put that in my office and I got to make my wife happy with how it looks. But short of that, we're done. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.